What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel and another episode of That's Right, I Said It. I really appreciate the support and the love I've been getting on the channel recently. We just have a great group of people who just, want to see other people do well, and just a lot of supportive people on here, not only for myself, but I see a lot of support going on for other people. And it's one of the reasons I started this channel, because I've messed around and dabbled with YouTube and stuff like that before in the past, different avenues. And, I got to thinking about it several months ago, and I was like, what is something that I know a lot about, that I have a lot to offer to people on a platform like YouTube? And it kind of just hit me like a ton of bricks. Like, dude, talk about substance abuse, talk about drugs. You're a freaking pro, man. That's honestly what I thought. Like, dude, you're a pro. You're 47 years old and you've been, messing around with, as a poly addict, all kinds of various substances since you were just a young chap. So if there's one thing that I do know a lot about, and it's all good and it's all bad all at the same time. The knowledge that I have, I think that I can give to other people, and I think that can be very beneficial to other people because I've been through a lot. I've definitely notched out some negativity and some negative consequences in my own life as a result of my substance abuse issues. But, on the flip side of that same coin, those very, very same issues that I've had have also helped me to search within myself and kind of become a stronger, more open, more loving, compassionate person. So I have a lot of compassion for people who are going through something in terms of drug addiction and stuff like that, because I've been there. And it sucks to not have anyone to talk to about it. And that's one reason I created this platform. It's a place where it's a judgment-free zone. You can come in here and talk about something that you might be dealing with, and everyone else can kind of, listen, jump on, and or myself can jump on, give your own experiences, maybe give each other some advice, and just first and foremost, just give each other some underlying support with something like substance abuse and drug addiction. Because it's something that's kind of tough to talk about. Well, guess what? I talk about it on here, and then some. Talk about things that most people would consider humiliating, embarrassing, but I'm a person that feels like if you are to not only move past it, but become strengthened by challenges that you face in your life, you gotta fess up to them, man. First thing you gotta do is open up and admit them and own them, and then once you do that, then you can kind of start to move forward with healing from those specific things that you may have done in your past, or that it may have been done to you, or that you've just experienced from struggling with the drug addiction. And I go in here a lot of times and I read some comments of people, and I got contacted this past weekend by a lady named Lula. And Lula, I really appreciate you reaching out. I really appreciate, and she found the channel, and then I was getting subsequent messages from her, where she was going back and back watching the earlier videos that she missed. So she was binging my videos, and I just feels great, that people actually feel like, hey, this guy has something to offer. I like a lot of the things he's saying, and I think more than anything, people just sense that, my heart is one of well wishes, and I wish everyone well, and anyone that's going through something like that, especially if it's something related to substance abuse and it's something that I have a lot of experience with. I like to be able to share that knowledge and that experience that I've had with that, with other people. And I know, as a person who struggled with drug addiction, when you get the opportunity to talk to someone else who has experienced something similar to what you're going through, it's a huge weight off of your shoulders, just to have that validation from someone else that says, yeah, I know what you're going through, man. That's tough. I've been there. And just to offer words of advice maybe, and some words of encouragement, or just a listening ear. saying, yeah, I hear what you're going through. I'm sorry you're going through that. So I wanted to read a comment, and Lola said that it's completely fine if I do this, so I wanted to read her comment, and then I'm gonna make the rest of the video a rally kind of around her and talking to her about how maybe she can proceed with this particular situation that she's in. And I mentioned to her that I have some of the most awesome, supportive, compassionate subscribers on here that have a great knowledge base of their own. You guys have heard me say that I learn things from you guys all the time. This is a reciprocal relationship that we have here. So anything that you hear me say or hear me talk about on here, if you have some advice for Lola as well, hey, spit it out, man. Put it in the comments. That's why I created this channel, you know, an open kind of forum, like a net where we could network with one another and really kind of be a support system and develop a support system for people out there that might be going through something, right? All right, so without further ado, I tend to get kind of long-winded, so I'm going to go ahead and get started on this so I can say what I want to say to Lula. So Lula says, "Hi, Corey, just wanted to let you know I'm a new subscriber. Ironically, I don't take Kratom. Oh, I've tried it as a way to get off of opiates, but it did not work for me. I tried different vendors, but still no luck. I did only try capsules as I can't stand the taste. I enjoy watching all kinds of videos, as no matter the substance, I know I can find people I can relate to. I know this is primarily about your Kratom tapering, but since you've also had an opiate addiction that you've overcome, I'd like to hear how you managed it. The withdrawals are horrendous, and it gets harder every time I go through it. Can't even make it past day 5 anymore. If you or any of your commenters have any suggestions, I would love to hear them. I find people who make these videos and the commenters, minus the trolls, are like friends as they know exactly what a person is going through. I look forward to more videos, and like I said, maybe you or some commenters who have been through it can give me some helpful information about getting through opiate withdrawal and the pause, or for those of you who don't know, is post-acute withdrawal syndrome that follow. Thank you in advance." And I asked her back because there's certain information that I want to know to really be able to kind of tell her how I would proceed forward in that situation. So I asked her a little bit of information about what it is that she's taking and things like that. And I always clear with people, hey, is it okay if I say your name on the channel? Is it okay if I read your comment? You know, because I don't want to put anybody's business out there if it's not cool with you. Even though after watching my channel, you're probably good with like all the shit I've said about myself on here. Trust me, you have nothing to be embarrassed about. So I imagine most people were probably like, "Oh, dude, go ahead and say it." You know, I've heard some of the stuff you've told about yourself. That's a true story. And so her comment back was, "No, I don't mind if you read my comment, and it's hydrocodone that I'm addicted to, about 200 milligrams per day. I've been on and off mostly for about 15 years. Actual pain and subsequent prescription started the addiction, but the death of my father is what I believe was the hole that started to fill and advanced the addiction further. But I've won it off for a long time now. I had some short success with a short Suboxone taper, but it didn't stick. Now when I try to withdraw, it feels like 50 times worse, and that's saying something. I should add, I even tried using the Suboxone taper again, but it seemed to make things worse. I've tried the mega dosing with vitamin C, that didn't help at all. Like I said, stuck. I feel like I have no way out if I can't at least get through the acute stage. So any help would be appreciated very, very much. Thank you. And congratulations on beating your perk addiction. I give big kudos to those who can make it through that hell and come out on the other side. Hopefully that's me someday. I should also add, tapering isn't an option. I don't have the self-control. I've also tried this method. Funny you said that about tapering, Lula. I just want to say right out of the gate, when I started this channel, that's kind of how I started it. I was on the MIT 45 extracts, which are very, very, very strong and potent. I kind of got hooked into those, and my whole angle was, well, I'm coming off of the MIT 45s and I'm going to go back on the powder so that I can then start tapering. Well, let's just say I've been tapering for about 3 months now. And at this point, I'm pretty much taking the same amount I was taking when I came off of the MIT 45s, because I'm doing exactly like you're talking about doing. I'm doing a little bit of this and then a little bit of that. A little bit of this and a little bit of that, where it's kind of like a roller coaster. I'm good, cutting it down for a couple of days straight, doing really, really well, and then I'll have some sort of life event or something that happens to come up, and then I'll start using more heavily for a little while, so I'll start going like this, so I just want to say right out of the gate, I agree with you. The tapering is not for everyone. Some people are able to do that. I myself personally have been struggling with a taper as of recently, so I can understand that and respect that. All right, so I kind of want to talk to Lila in two parts, okay? And so the first thing has to do with she wants to quit, but she does not want to taper, because taper is something that tends to be difficult for her. But she did send me a subsequent message on another video last night asking about Kratom use, because she said she's heard of a lot of people using Kratom to come off of harder opiates, but that she tried it and it didn't work. She wondered if she was not taking enough of the Kratom. All right, so I want to address that first, because I think that that's absolutely the case. And this is something that I spoke a little bit to her about in one of my messages last night, but I want to elaborate on it now. So one Kratom is in no way, shape, or form equal to one Vicodin. And if any of you out there who have ever had any experience with pain pills, you know this. In fact, when I first started messing around with Kratom, which I want to say right out of the gate, when I started messing around with Kratom, I was already close to, probably 7 to 10 years off of my painkillers. So when I started Kratom, I wasn't at that time currently on any sort of opiates. So, Kratom was kind of my first step back into the door of opiates. And of course, Kratom is not as hard of an opiate, although it can become a slippery slope if you have the tendency to get addicted to stuff like narcotics. So when I started Kratom, I did not have any sort of opiate addiction prior to that. One of the keys that I will say to you, when I first took Kratom, it shocked me that the serving size was 6 capsules. I was like, what? 6 capsules? That sounds scary. That sounds scary, because I come from the Percocet, Vicodin sort of days where if you took 6 capsules, for one thing, you wouldn't take a shit for a week because it would constipate you that badly. Secondly, you'd probably be asleep in 30 minutes, and for some people, maybe even worse, serious respiratory suppression, all those things. So, you don't take 6 Percocet at a time. You don't take 6 Vicodin at a time, because as a synthesized medication that scientists have taken and purposely put an overabundance of codeine, morphine, these alkaloids that cause like the euphoria and the pain killing properties, that doesn't exist in Kratom. Okay, Kratom is natural. It's a plant, and nature gets it right. Nature doesn't put an overabundance of those alkaloids in the plant naturally. It does contain the alkaloids, but it's much like the natural properties of marijuana. People take and adulterize marijuana into these, wax products, and then you've got gummies where they extract the THC and they put like a shit ton of THC into the gummies, and people will eat this one gummy and they're like, whoa, shit, I've never been this high, But when natural weed, as it grows out of the ground, doesn't do you like that, right? So it's one thing I always say to people: nature gets it right. It's people, it's man who has taken these alkaloids and these products like, codeine and morphine and stuff like that, and synthesized them in the lab into a pill that contains just asinine amounts of it. And that's one of the reasons people become so heavily addicted to things like Vicodin and Percocets and other narcotics. So with that said, once I learned that Kratom is going to be much, much, much less potent in terms of the euphoria, in terms of the alkaloids that are actually the metrogenine, which is like the alkaloid that actually gives you kind of the high, the euphoria of Kratom. So I will say that, and I don't know how much Kratom you took, Lola, when you tried to, come off of your hydrocodone using the Kratom, but although I can't give you an exact amount, based on how much Vicodin you're taking every day, but I will say that if you were just dabbling in the Kratom, like, a couple of capsules here and there, two, even 3 capsules of the Kratom is not going to equal probably even one of your Vicodin, okay? To get the same sort of effect that it's going to have on your opiate receptors in your brain and stuff like that. And I want everybody out there for this, for all the trolls. I'm not telling Lola, because I'm not a physician, I'm not telling Lola to go and just swallow an asinine amount of Kratom. It's your first time using something like Kratom. You always want to start slow. You always want to start careful. But I will say to you, you are correct in assuming that you probably needed to take more. Because like I said, 1 Kratom does not equal 1 Vicodin. 3 Kratom probably does not equal 1 Vicodin. 5 Kratom pills, capsules, may not even equal 1 Vicodin. You're probably going to have to get up there 5, maybe 6, a few grams at a time of the Kratom to actually get some of the same like narcotic sort of effects. Because when you talk about withdrawals, what happens is, for something like Kratom and Percocet, these opiate receptors in your brain and in your intestines get saturated, and it forces those receptors to release large amounts of serotonin and dopamine, which are the feel-good chemicals. It forces your body to release larger amounts of that, which is why that gives you this really good kind of high, euphoric, good mood sort of sensation. And you can get that with Kratom, but you are going to have to take, in comparison, a larger amount of Kratom than you would, for example, Vicodin. And so you're probably going to have to experiment with taking a larger amount of the Kratom to be able to, avoid or at least help with any physical withdrawals associated with coming off of Vicodin. I hate to encourage someone to do this because they can become very expensive as well. There are things called extracts of Kratom. And if you were wanting really, really, really badly to try to get off of the Vicodin, maybe you could try some of the Kratom gummies or one of the extracts and just take a little bit at a time to see if, especially at night, if that can help you with like the restlessness, the restless leg syndrome that you experience and stuff like that. Because Kratom does hit those same opiate receptors in the body as does Vicodin and Percocet. Not as strongly, not as much. Literally, Kratom is known as a partial agonist. All right? Stuff like the Vicodin and the Percs, those are full agonists. So they are going to give you more of that serotonin, more of that mood chemical than is something like Kratom at the same dose. So although I can't give you an exact amount, you would just have to experiment, because I don't know how much you took before, and everyone's body is different. So it's really just something you have to discover, that relationship slowly but surely yourself. I'm not a doctor, and even if I was, everyone's different, and it's going to depend on how long you've been taking the Vicodin. It seems like you've been taking it for quite a few years. So, but the best that I can tell you is, might want to give Kratom another shot. And I will tell you that Kratom should, in theory, help a pretty good amount with withdrawals from something like Vicodin or opiate or narcotic, because it affects those same receptors in a very similar sort of way. But one kratom does not equal one Vicodin. So if you're taking one Vicodin or two Vicodins, or I don't know how many, 3 Vicodins every few hours or whatever, to get kratom to help you with those withdrawals, you're going to have to take more than 3 kratom at a time, and experiment with that. Take a decent size dose, maybe 3 to 5 grams of kratom at one time, and just buy some kratom, discover what 3 to 5 grams of that is, and you can toss wash method. You can some people put it in orange juice and stir it up real good and toss it down. But I will start with something like that, and then see how your withdrawals feel. Of course, to make this work, Lula, you're gonna have to not take the Vicodin for a little period of time, because if you have Vicodin in your system and then you're mixing the kratom in with that, it's gonna be really difficult to establish a baseline on what the kratom is actually doing for you, because you're still gonna have the Vicodin in your system, with its effects. So that would be my suggestion with that. I would say kratom is a better option than Vicodin, overall. Again, I'm not a doctor, but most people tend to think that, and I will say that I've been through withdrawal from Percocet. This is cold turkey withdrawal from Percocet and cold turkey withdrawal from Vicodin. I've been through cold turkey withdrawal from MIT 45s, which is kratom as well. And I would definitely tell you, the Percocets and the Vicodins are worse. The full-on withdrawals, acute withdrawals of the synthesized medications, Vicodins, Percocet, are worse, okay, than the kratom. So if you had to choose one, I would rather see you taking the kratom than the Vicodin. With that said, I'm not a doctor, and obviously you have a doctor, more than likely, who is prescribing you the Vicodin. So, you may want to discuss this with your doctor to see if they've heard of kratom, and just see if you can maybe make kind of a slower transition into kratom that way. And if you can get yourself over a few weeks where maybe you're phasing out of the Vicodin and phasing into the kratom, if you can do that safely, maybe you can get to a point in a few weeks where you're completely off the Vicodin and you're just taking the kratom. And at that point, I would say it's definitely a better option to try to completely come off of tapering, or come off of kratom, as opposed to the harder Vicodin and the Percocets. Now, and I'm gonna try to finish this up before 30 minutes is up. The second part of this is, Lola mentioned that tapering is not for her. She doesn't think she can do the tapering. She's just, she says that she's just too weak-minded for it, which, hey, I appreciate the honesty and the candid nature, and I have that same feeling at times. And really, to be honest, anytime that I've ever quit some sort of opiate, whether it's kratom, Vicodin, Percocet, for any length of time, it has been a cold turkey situation where I went to bed on Monday night taking it, then I woke up Tuesday morning and I just stopped. Just a hard stop, abrupt stop. And the withdrawals do suck, and they can be horrendous. But there are things that you can do to help mitigate those a little bit. So assuming now that you just do a complete cold turkey from Vicodin, taking it for 15 years, and you don't use any kratom or anything like that to help you come off with it, I would love to paint you this picture of there's just this other magic pill that you can take that's just gonna get rid of any possible withdrawals. Unfortunately, I've not seen or experienced that, unless you're gonna go into something like you already mentioned, like a Suboxone or a methadone and stuff. And I've come off of a narcotic and gotten on Suboxone before, and the Suboxone, I still went through some serious withdrawals when I came off of the Suboxone. So to be honest, I've never fully understood the whole, well, I'm coming off of narcotics, now I'm on Suboxone for 6 months or a year or whatever, and then I'm going to taper off that. I've never really understood that much, to be honest with you, because at least for me, the Suboxone withdrawals were just as severe. as, you know, the narcotic withdrawals themselves. So let's assume that you're coming off of the Vicodin, you're not using Kratom, you're not doing anything, you're just doing a straight cold turkey. All right, here are some things that can help you in that scenario and the things that I used. All right, one of those is really, really cold showers at night. It sucks really bad, but take the water, turn the water on freezing cold as much as you possibly can, and just shiver, shiver, shiver. You know, do that for about 30 seconds, step out of the water, or turn it back to warm for a few seconds. Go back on, 30 seconds again, shiver, 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 to where you just can't stand it anymore. Do about 3 sets of this, and the shivering will actually, in a lot of ways, calm you. It'll get rid of a lot of the angst, like the extra anxiety and just the jitteriness that you experience when going through withdrawals of something like Vicodin or Percocets, whatever. And it will actually help a little bit in terms of just giving you that, you're just kind of, from the shivering, the vigorous shivering, you're just a little bit more exhausted than what you were, which can, you know, give you a little bit more restfulness at night. A lot of people swear by melatonin. To be honest with you, I'm not saying I wouldn't try it, but for me, when you're going through really, really tough post-acute withdrawals from something like Percocet or Vicodin, melatonin just did not help me. It just made me a person who was really tired, but still couldn't sleep, because I was still having the restless legs, I was still having the discomfort in the chest, where the hypertrophy, where you constantly just have to clench up and move, and no matter how bad you want to sleep in that situation, your body just will not let you stay still. And I know how it is, and that's really, really tough. But it's worth a try. Everyone's different. It didn't work that well for me, but you know, the psychotherapist that I was seeing at that time, when I actually went to get help, you know, 15 years ago, for coming off of Vicodins and Percocets, that's actually what they suggested that I do. So this is something that a pro suggests, so I'm suggesting it to you. Bananas is really good for the potassium. You want to take like a multivitamin and a banana, the potassium, the vitamin C, everything that's in the multivitamins. I know you said you dosed on the vitamin C, it didn't help. It's not going to be something that's going to completely take away your withdrawals. I would love to sit on here and, like I said, just tell you there's this magic pill or this magic set of rules that you can follow and you're just not going to have any withdrawals. I don't think there's anything like that. I've never known anything like that. What I'm telling you are things that can kind of help decrease the severity of the withdrawals. So the bananas, you know, taking like a 1-a-day vitamin, drinking tons of water, because the truth is, the quicker you can get your body back to baseline, the better it's going to be for you in the end. Okay? Water helps you do that. Water helps to flush out toxins out of your system. So the quicker that you flush all those opiates back out of your system, the quicker your body can begin to heal and get back to baseline, or get back to where it was before your chemicals back to where they were before you ever started taking said narcotic. Okay? So drinking water is something that really helps expedite that process when going through something like a withdrawal. So drink tons of water. Doesn't hurt to drink a lot of Gatorade as well to replenish any salts. When you're taking something like Vicodin, Percocets, and that stuff on a regular basis, it inhibits your body's ability to be able to not digest, but to process, you know, a lot of different vitamins and minerals. So you want to make sure you're fortifying your diet and your body with those things when you're coming off of something like that. And it does, according to a lot of people, it does help some with the severity of the withdrawals as well. The next one, and this is one that people just really, really struggle with, because the last thing you're going to feel like doing when you are going through some sort of opiate withdrawal is exercise. It is so counterintuitive. It is exactly the opposite of what you feel like doing, because you feel sick, you feel depressed, you feel like you have the flu, you feel like all you want to do is just lay in bed, curl up in a fetal position up under the covers, and just shut out the world completely. But if you can stomach getting up and doing some intense exercise, what's intense for me may be different for you. The intense exercise can vary from person to person to person, depending on your current level of physical fitness. So take that with what is worth, but do something that is challenging for you, as far as a physical exertion exercise. The more you can do that, the quicker you can sweat those toxins out of your body, the quicker your body can get back to normal and start, circling things over again. And there's a lot of mental and psychotherapy aspects that go with it as well. Just talking about things, keeping a diary, writing down things that concern you, just to get it off your mind, and also writing down and manifesting, whether it be paper or just outwardly, things that you're glad about, things that you're blessed for, your children, your husband, your family, your job, whatever it is. It helps to be aware of all those things. I'm at 31 minutes, and I'm going to continue this a little bit in my next video. Lula, we're here for you, here to support you. Anybody else in the comments have any ideas for going through an opiate withdrawal, drawing from the experience that you've had? It's one of those things. I don't have a magical answer for you, unfortunately, and it is tough, and it's going to be tough. But the biggest thing, and also loose stool, Vicodin, Percocet, those things constipate you. So when you come off something like that, you might have to take like some loperamide or something like that to kind of harden up your stool a little bit, because it's going to be like the floodgates are opening when you go to take something or go to stop taking something like that. So that's another one. Loperamide can help with that. Any other ideas, guys, please let Lula know, and we are here for you. Let us know how your progress is going, if you start on that soon, or if you have more questions and you want to really set yourself up. This is something in terms of whatever kind of responsibilities you have in life. Going and doing some sort of cold turkey withdrawal like that may depend on what kind of responsibilities you have in life, because a lot of us aren't in a position in life where you can just be sick as a dog for 2 weeks and just not come out of your room for 2 weeks. We can't do that. So sometimes you just have to get your shit on your shoulders, deal with it the best you can, and try to do these little things that can maybe help to minimize the withdrawals. But if you have any more questions, let me know. I'll try to extend on this a little bit in my next video. If you guys enjoy this content, please like the video and subscribe down below. This is Corey. I'll see you next time. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.